It's your voice that undresses me. You were so afraid of my voice, I decided to be afraid of it too. Why is it that when the story ends, we begin to feel all of it? I will welcome a partner who is my equal. Never feel guilty for starting again. A man who cries, the gift. Are you kidding me? Honestly, are you kidding me, Rupi Kaur? This is not called poetry. This is not poetry. These are just monologues or thoughts. These are not even quotes. Quotes are supposed to be life changing, something you read and you feel like, wow, I feel inspired. I feel like doing something, right? But these are not even quotes. This is not poetry. I've been trying to figure out a way to actually tackle this thing, why is this called poetry? I get it that people do relate to her, people do like the simplicity of her thoughts, but I wouldn't call this poetry, because this is very sad if you call it poetry. Because poetry is something, something deep, something creative, something very personal, something that's coming out of vulnerability. Poetry is something that needs to be deciphered, like something that it's left to your interpretation. If you just say that I am sad, how is that poetry? If you just say how you're feeling exactly, how is that any different from me talking to you every day and telling you how I'm feeling, than actually writing it out in a different way, or comparing it with, say, a moon shining, or the sun rising, or the trees dancing? So what's the difference, right? You try to find beauty in nature, you try to find beauty in people, you try to find beauty in experiences, and you combine all of them together and write a poem expressing the feeling, comparing that feeling. So if I write a poem, for example, about a heartbreak, okay, and you read it, you would interpret it differently than I would, than what I actually meant in the poem, right? Because that's what poetry is all about. It's all left to interpretation. That's why people analyze poems. That's why people look for um, the devices, right? The literary devices, to actually try their best to understand how the poet felt when he or she was actually writing the poem, right? Why do you think Ted Hughes uses animals to explain certain emotions? Why does Emily Dickinson use a lot of dash, right? Why does she use a lot of uh, why does she use a lot of depth in her poem, right? Death, there's love, there's sex, there's so much depth in her poem, and then why does John Donne write creepily? He writes about strangling a woman because he wants to preserve her beauty. All these stuff. Why do poets write insane stuff, compare it with insane things, just so we can interpret to our ways, just so we can somehow, feel, try our best to interpret what the poet was actually feeling while they were writing it. That's what is amazing about poetry. So if I write a poem today and if I tell you to read the poem, you would do your best to analyze it, you would do your best to understand it, which is great, because it helps you understand or helps you imagine yourself in the poet's shoes, and that creates empathy, that builds empathy. What's the point of writing I am sad, basic things like the coffee was hot, and I know, no, let me try to write like Rupi Kaur. I took a sip from your cup today and I felt nothing. I would say read bad literature. That's why I said on my title, go read Rupi Kaur's poems. Read it. Okay, if you like it, then fine. I'm gonna try my best not to judge you, but okay, go read her poems. Read those 2-3 lines of poetry that she writes. Read bad literature. Why limit yourself, right? Bad literature is important. Reading bad literature is important because it opens you up to different possibilities, different writings, different storylines. Then you can actually compare it with good literature, and that actually opens up your limitations. That helps you understand what is good and what is bad. And that's what is important in real life to write, knowing the difference between good and bad. That's why I urge you to read Rupi Kaur, urge you to actually read good poetry as well. Read both. Just don't restrict yourself to only Rupi Kaur or only, let's say, Shakespeare, right? Open up to new possibilities. Read all sorts of literature. Why restrict, right? Open up to everything. Embrace Rupi Kaur. Yes. Okay, so when I look at her books, they're actually pretty creative in the sense that I like her cover page. I like the quality of the pages. I like the feel of it. That's it. That's the only selling factor about her books. Anyways, so all I'm trying to say is that why spend money on this? It's because don't limit yourself. Open up to all sorts of poetry. Get to know what is good and bad and feel it. After all, everything is about emotions, right? No matter if you say I'm sad and you're actually reading I'm sad dialogues, then if that works for you, then good for you. So these are some poetry books that I have. So this one has a special there's a special feeling that revolves around this book because this was the time when I went to university. First time I went to live out on my own, and I got this book, and it has all my favorite poets. It has Emily Dickinson, it has Blake. I mean, there are such amazing poems in it. It's amazing. I'm so glad that I found this book. And then there's Edgar Allan Poe. Who doesn't know Edgar Allan Poe, right? And then there is metaphysical poetry. Every time I think about metaphysical poems, I think about George Herbert and John Donne. Yes. I'm yet to read the entire book. I've read a few poems. They're good. And Blake, oh my god, I love this guy. I love this guy so much. His poems are just amazing. So I would urge you to read Emily Dickinson and Blake. And yeah, if you want to know more about poems, if you want me to read few poems, do let me know in the comments, and do let me know what are your favorite poems. I'm just saying that why limit yourself? Get introduced to a whole new world out there, right? But I would say at least learn to compare what is good and what is bad, just like how we are grown to taught what is wrong and what is right. I know it's not a good example, but just trying to tell you that please read some good poems, and it's okay to read bad ones. I read them, right? I read these poems. There were some thoughts that I was like, okay, they're not so bad. You can you know what, never mind. So thank you so much for watching my video. Please subscribe, please share if you like it, and do let me know where I can improvise on my videos. And thank you for watching my video. See you again next week. Bye bye.